Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by The Old Ways Actual Play Team. This actual play uses the 7th edition Call of Cthulhu tabletop role-playing game, Rules by Chaosium. This actual play is performed by adults and in an adult setting. While we try hard to stick to reasonable languages for all ages, listeners should know that this is a podcast that may include mature themes. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and etc., may bear resemblance to persons living or dead, is strictly coincidental. My name is Michael Diamond, and for tonight's game, I will be your keeper. Okay, and welcome back. Thank you for joining us for yet another episode of the Old Ways Actual Play Podcast. I am your keeper, Keeper Markle, and to my right this evening I have...
Anastasia Edwina Fairchild, as played by Heather. Stazi, to her friends. She is a columnist by day, investigator by night, and secrets keeper always. She's just recently come across a rather interesting little tidbit in the current Chicago Tribune at the time regarding an apartment that is up for sale, a certain Michigan Avenue apartment, as a matter of fact, and whom that just happened to have been investigated by Mr. Doyle and
Mr. Forsyth.
Mr. Forsyth, thank you, who unfortunately is not here with us tonight.
Unfortunately.
But it's rather interesting that after Mr. Swift's untimely demise, as we so know it, that his apartment is already up for sale only a few days later. And I now have a phone number that I think bears looking into.
Wonderful. And across the table for me?
Jack Doyle, private investigator. I am currently pursuing a runaway felon of some type.
It does seem to... It does, at least from everything you've gained from the investigation, it does seem that Miss Elise, whoever she is, has done something quite foul.
Yes, and unfortunately she is taken up with a notorious mob hitman. So now I have to figure out how I'm going to separate the two and get her back to New York.
Yes, the quite dangerous Louis Altieri. And then to my left.
Tiffany playing Maeve O'Shea, who should be getting on a train soon and head home.
Yes. Everything went fine there. There was no strange happenings at all while you were in Arkham. It was a completely normal location. Nothing interesting, right?
No, nothing interesting at all.
Right, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Miss Fairchild.
Stazi, darling.
Of course. You are, having read over the paper and taken some notes and kind of referred back in your memory to some of the things that Mr. Doyle had talked about. He did mention that there was quite a strange amount of things at that apartment on Michigan Avenue. And then just days later to find it already up for sale and prepared is most irregular.
It does seem that Mr. Swift was rather resourceful in his probable dealings and prior to his untimely undoing. But to be so prepared as if he was even missing, as there's not even a hint of him being gone, it does seem rather strange.
Yes, there's been no reported in the paper of his death. There's been no notice of him going missing. It's as if he has vanished from the face of the earth. And perhaps he has.
Or vanished into the earth, as the case may be.
Yes, that's probably a fair assessment of the situation, given what you know. All you know is Mr. Doyle came out of the hole and did not come out with Mr. Swift. So you can put two and two together. You're a sharp lady.
Well, since we were in the earth anyway, whether he is still there or somewhere else within, he did not come out.
So to what end will you use this information?
I do believe just a Well, it wouldn't hurt to give it a quick call and see what information could be gleaned from this.
Absolutely. Pick up the candlestick phone and tap a bit. Ask the operator, the wonderfully pleasant operator, to dial a number for you, right?
I do.
She lets you know that it's going to take a second or two to connect because it's going back to Cleveland.
Cleveland. I think I get out my little notepad and scratch a few bits of information as I go.
Sure. Eventually, you hear a couple of clicks and then eventually a tone, and then you hear another click. Rather young and vibrant male voice picks up the phone. Kent Sons and Records. Walter speaking.
Yes, I was calling to find out some information regarding an apartment that's listed for sale. This was the number.
Oh yeah. One moment, ma'am. Let me get the owner. You hear a receiver get plunked down on a wood. Something wood. There's definitely a resonant tone. It gets clicked on, and when it lands, you hear in the background. You hear this amazing, almost captivating jazz music being played. A few moments later, you hear another rattle, and you hear hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, this is Nathan Kent. Are you calling about the apartment?
Yes, Mr. Kent, I saw your advertisement in the newspaper and was interested in finding out some further information.
And you're local?
Not entirely, but I'm in the region. I'm not. I know of Michigan Avenue. I mean, it is rather well known out this way. I'm a little bit closer, to the suburbs.
I see. Listen, ma'am, this apartment is, it's quite pricey.
Well,
You
I'm sure my boss can afford it. Do you know? And I give the name of my boss from the newspaper.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's asked me to inquire further information about this.
All right, yeah, I see. Yeah, it's it is for sale. It's been recently cleaned up and made ready for the market, and it's right on Michigan Avenue. And if your boss would like, I could have a gentleman come by and walk him through the place. That's what you'd like.
I'll have to get that information back to him. When would it be available for move-in?
Oh, jeez. Once everything's signed up, you can have keys to the place and do whatever you like.
I will let him know. That sounds promising. Do you have a price so that I can relay that information back to him?
He gives you the price. Given what you know of some of the real estate markets having at least some experience in housing, it's not. This is definitely a high-end apartment.
But does it seem that they have priced it for to get it
They have not priced it to sell. No, I don't think. You wouldn't look at the price and say they're blowing this thing out. They're trying to offload it quickly. Okay. Your interpretation of it would be, okay, yeah, it's probably a little bit cheaper than some of the other stuff in the area, but it's still pretty well in line with what you would expect to pay for a location that close to the center of downtown.
Okay. So nothing's popping out so far as being kind of
Well, and the fact that
but besides what I know,
besides the fact that a guy who owned it 3 days ago all of a sudden is ready for someone to walk through it. Yeah, there are fishy things, but not price related fishy things.
okay. So I'll ask, get a few more details, number of bedrooms, things that are normal.
You get all the pertinent details.
All the
about
pertinent
it.
details, so it looks as legitimate as possible.
Okay, go ahead and make me a
Talk?
fast talk. Yeah,
Okay.
fast talk seems reasonable. Just a kind of an overview to make sure that you don't tip Mr. Kent off to anything.
Okay. That is on the nose success.
Very nice. Check your box. Yeah, you feel like you give Nathan Kent a pretty good impression, given that you were doing an impression. And when he hangs up the phone, you feel like you have the information you need. You might want to consult with either Mr. Forsyth or Mr. Doyle, someone who's been in the apartment, or at least relay the information to them so that way they know.
Actually, I would have like one or two other questions.
Oh, yeah, please go ahead.
So after we get all the information, make it sound legitimate. Well, that sounds wonderful. I'll relay that information to him. I gotta admit, this sounds gorgeous. It's far out of my price range, but it sounds really lovely. You don't hear about most of these apartments coming up for sale. He was really surprised. Just, between you and me, did something happen to the former owner? I mean, you hear about that stuff all the time, these mobsters.
Oh.
It's all little, I don't know. I don't like living anywhere near the city. I'm not me, but my boss is one of those reporter news guys, so he likes this stuff.
Not at all, ma'am. Not at all. This is simply a case of the former owner moved back home.
Oh, well, whatever this guy's loss is, it's definitely going to be my boss's gain. Don't tell him I said that.
No, of course not, ma'am.
Well, thank you, sir. I will make sure to get this information to him. Is this the number that he should call to arrange any viewing if that's what he wants?
Yes, you can call me at this number.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Kent. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. He hangs up the phone relatively quickly afterwards.
Gone back home. Mr. Swift must have had something set up. It definitely would be worth investigating further. I must speak with Mr. Doyle. Or Mr. Forsyth. After lunch. I cannot think on an empty stomach.
You take your lunch and kind of move over a couple of things in your head. And it occurs to you that Swift was probably fairly well connected within city politics, especially when you kind of go back through all the things that you know about him before meeting him. The fact that there was a fire at the yards and that there was a fire that was bad at the yards, but somehow he covered it up. And somehow he was able to do all that work, all the digging without anyone knowing. Even when you were there in the muddy field, it almost seemed unbelievable that no one would have noticed him do that work. Or, now that your brain thinks about it, maybe it's that people did notice, but Swift managed to either buy them off or leverage them to stay quiet.
Or he's not alone. He has help, possibly in higher areas. He couldn't do this all by himself. I think it's time to reach back out to our illustrious team. I need some answers. And possibly a trip to records at City Hall, perhaps? To see if I could find a paper trail.
Okay.
His ownership, some legal documentation. If he had a will or something on file, there's got to be something in the records. At least if I could find a deed, that may point us in a direction.
Okay, we'll leave you there for a second. Mr. Doyle, it's almost unfortunate what you've found.
Yes.
It is almost unfortunate. So the question is, what's Jack Doyle prepared to do?
Well, right now, Jack Doyle is prepared to go home to his apartment and go to bed.
Yeah. We'll say you've done that. You lay in bed there for probably a good 10 or 15 minutes, unable to finally get to sleep. And being a man that is fairly well used to lubricating his body as necessary with alcohol, you probably have a few just to wring the stress and tension of the day out.
Yeah, a couple of cigarettes, a couple of glasses, or a bottle, whatever.
Whatever works, right?
Yeah.
As you're sitting there in bed, sipping on this, God, you're not even sure at this point, whiskey, whether it's Canadian or not, it gets the job done. At least it seems to. And you drift off. You feel something slip out of your hand. And you don't have complete control over all of your conscious faculties. And you hear something shatter, glass shatter. When you look up, you're sitting in a long bar. Stools on left and right are filled with all sorts of different types of people you're not used to seeing. You see a definite tan pigmentation. You see a lot of folks in working clothes, not suits and ties like you have on. You kind of spin around at the shattered glass sound, and you see that a waitress there serving a large table of people has accidentally tipped over a drink. And there's a collection of people at the table that you swear you know. The first person you see at the table is Miss O'Shea, although she looks years younger than you know her. She's almost, you'd argue that she's fresh-faced. She's far younger than you remember seeing her the last time. You see a man directly to her right, almost in a bit of a pose. He's his chest is a bit puffed out. He's wearing more local traveling clothes. It's hot here. The waves of heat and humidity seem to kind of rain in on you a bit in this strange dream. And suddenly you know this man. You've seen this man. He spoke to you. He hired you to be here. As a bodyguard? As a mercenary? His name's Larkin. That much you know. And Larkin is searching for something. A mysterious pyramid. You remember it. Just as his hand points to the table and points to this newspaper clipping about how he's off to form an expedition to find a missing pyramid. And between the heat and the sounds of music and the humidity, you know somewhere in your brain that this happened. You were here. And Larkin strides over to you. Doyle, you okay?
Yeah, fine.
And pats you on the shoulder. Tomorrow morning, we are going on the trail and we are finding this pyramid. That's what we're here for. Drink up and enjoy yourself tonight, because tomorrow morning, we ship out.
It's all business tomorrow.
All business. He flags the bartender over, and the older Southern American gentleman tips out a big decanter of what you believe is rum. And he sets the glass in front of you. And you go to pick it up. And you reach for it, and it comes up about halfway. And the glass and the contents of the glass tumble from your fingertips and shatter on the ground. And you wake up in bed. In your bed in Chicago. With the early morning light streaming in through the window. And your fingers clutching smashed glass from last night's whiskey tumbler. The world pitches a bit left and right until it finally finds its center. You're not certain how much you drank last night, but the bottle in your right hand seems to be fairly empty. You need coffee.
Yeah. Cleaned up, dressed, go for coffee.
You do have to do a little of attendance to your hand. The cuts aren't very deep. They're not very... they don't bleed quite a bit. But every time you tried to get through your morning breakfast, there was a bit of blood seeping from your fingers, so you had to attend to it, unfortunately. Nothing that a guy like you couldn't handle, but a bit annoying. Like having 4 or 5 different paper cuts all in the same hand. What's your first stop look like?
Oh, after breakfast. I gotta find out more about Altieri.
Okay. Where are you going to go research Altieri?
Well, there's only a couple places I know where I can find that kind of information. Maybe I'll stop in at my old precinct to see if any of the guys are on duty I can talk to.
Sure. Well, stopping in your own precinct, it's definitely busy. There's definitely a hum to any police precinct. You see a couple of guys that you used to work with that you that still seem to be on the force. They say hello to you. They're busy, but you get to the watch commander, the guy at the big desk. Help you?
Yeah. Do I know this guy?
Not offhand.
No. I give him a couple names. Is any of these gentlemen here? Officers? I used to work at this precinct.
Yeah, Bob Larson's here. Hang on a second. Let me get him. And he motions to one of the policemen that are watching over the back and forth and happens to go flag Bob down. Bob Larson's a pretty straight man, all things considered. He's never been known to be on the take, at least the last time you talked to him. He's known to keep a few, let's say, treasures from the bootlegging operations that he seems to bust. But he doesn't bust too many because, let's face it, booze is in Chicago's blood.
Right. There's not too many that get busted in Chicago.
He steps out. Hey, Doyle, how you doing?
Doing it right, Bob. Let me bend your ear for a minute.
Sure.
I'm working on this case, this dame that's been running around town trying to track her down. I think she's been hanging out with somebody with some connections to one of the outfits.
Sounds bad.
Yeah, I don't really want to deal with it, but, the money's good. You know anything about Altieri? Louis Altieri, two-gun?
Yeah, Louis Altieri's a guy that's wrapped up in the Northside crew. I mean, he's a made man.
Yeah, he works for O'Banion.
No, he works for Capone's crew.
Oh, I thought he worked for O'Banion.
No, they traffic in some of the same areas, but the Northside Chicago versus the Irish, Northside is just Italian Northsiders.
Oh. So, you happen to know where he puts the roots down?
I mean, I probably find out in general neighborhood anyway, but he's a big timer, so.
Yeah. I mean, I have no interest in tangling with him, but
You see Bob, like, look around the precinct just to
yeah.
make sure the two of you are having a private conversation still.
But if you could find anything out, I would really appreciate it.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Get you at the office then?
Yeah.
All right. Be careful.
Yeah, good seeing you. We'll have to get together sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep your nose clean. I heard one of the Precinct 4's detectives got into you for a little bit.
Yeah, it was misunderstanding. They thought I was doing something somebody else did. That's all cleared up now.
I hope so. I know that guy. I know his reputation. Belmont's nobody to mess with.
Yeah, he seems kind of a bulldog.
Yeah, he's not clean, but he's a bulldog, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's gonna. I think he's gonna be keeping an eye on me, but you know, who doesn't?
Everybody's got to have a pet, right?
Right.
I'll let you know what I find out.
Right. Thanks a lot.
You take off from the precinct. It's still reasonably so in the morning. Probably head to the office.
Yeah, I give Miss Fairchild a ring.
Okay. Yeah, you do have her number.
Yeah.
So, soon after you get off the phone with the Kents, Miss Stazi, your phone rings again. You are the hub of activity, it seems.
Hello.
Miss Fairchild.
Wonderful to hear your voice again, Mr. Doyle. In fact, I was going to be calling you, so rather fortuitous as well.
Oh, that's perfect.
What can I do you for?
You got some connection with the paper there, right?
Just a small one.
If I give you a name and have you look up some information, you think I could find something for me?
I could do my best.
Louis Altieri, he's a made man for the North Side gang.
Anyone I've heard of, by chance?
Louis Altieri? Yeah, absolutely. He works, last time you knew anyway, he works with the outfit, an Italian mafioso group that runs around on Chicago's north side.
Is there anything in particular you're looking for, Mr. Doyle?
Just any personal information you can find, maybe where he lives, that kind of thing.
You know, because those upstart businessmen always have that information. I'll see what I can do. Anything else?
No, that'd be it. What did you need?
Well, my bit of gossip may be a little bit juicier. It seems Oh, do you by chance have a newspaper handy? Today's edition, of course.
No, yeah, probably.
Turn to page... I give the page number.
All right.
Take
13.
Turn to page 13.
13, huh?
About 2/3 of the way down the page, through the classified, you might happen to recognize there's an apartment for sale down on Michigan Avenue. It may sound a little familiar.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Swift's place.
Rather interesting that, well, considering our most recent run-in with Mr. Swift, that his place is already brand spanking new and the bee's knees and all ready to go for a brand new resident, don't you think?
Yeah, that is interesting. Since he just disappeared a couple of days ago.
It seems Mr. Swift may be a lot more connected than we originally anticipated. Possibly with those farther up. I have no proof. It is only a hunch. But how else would you have a Michigan Avenue apartment ready to go, clean as a whistle, for a new resident within a few days of your whatever you want to call it?
I mean, it could be a coincidence, but when we were in there was no evidence that they were packing anything up to move.
No, the apartment, if your memory serves correctly, was
Bit of a disaster.
a bit of a disaster. It wasn't. It wasn't that it had not been used, that it had been used and then left a bit just untidy. Then there was that whole secret room thing. And
Right, yeah.
It seems Mr. Swift must have had some contingencies in place. Quite a few. If you happen to browse through the rest of that paper, you'll happen to notice that there's no mention, or nearly no mention, at least directly, of anything that happened the last few days. Except for that little blurb on page 4 regarding the difficulties with the transportation due to some of the problems at the stockyard.
Yeah, it probably have to do with the fire.
But no mention of a fire.
Well, I mean,
or
it was
destruction.
was it in the paper or in the radio that night?
It was on the radio.
Yeah.
There was just simply a report that there were some, that firemen had been sent to the yards. But it happened, the report happened once, and there was no mention of it in the paper the next day.
So somebody's covered it up.
Very, very well. There has been no mention of anything since that radio broadcast. This is the closest thing I have found, and I have kind of kept a little bit of a tab on it. So,
You know what also hasn't been mentioned again is the Kiss murders.
an interesting article if you turn to page 23, towards the very, very back there, you'll happen to notice in that horribly, teeth-gratingly bad gossip column.
Do you happen to know this writer? No.
Let's leave it at that for the moment. But there's also mention of the Rex. I believe you are probably familiar with it. The
Yeah,
cabaret.
it was there last night.
Ah. Well, it seems that something occurred to one of the upstanding businessmen in the city, in somewhere in the alley, and then whatever did the attack ran or moved up the wall of
Up the wall.
Rex.
You know, a week ago I would have thought it was somebody drinking too much, but right now,
Exactly, my thoughts too. So, I took the liberty of calling about the Michigan Avenue apartment. Well, let's just say it's as we believed it to be. It's all nice, brand spanking new, far out of our price range. Unfortunately, it sounds lovely.
it was a nice apartment.
I'm sure it was, except for the hidden room and everything behind it. But who am I to talk about secrets? Anyway, the point is when I inquired about where the former resident had gone to, I was told by Mr. Kent of Kent and Sons Music in Cleveland that the resident had gone home. Unfortunately, I was not able to find out any further information, and currently considering a trip down to the records department, both at the paper and possibly at City Hall, to see if I can find some more information regarding Mr. Swift's or whomever's ownership of the apartment.
Well, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
If we can get at least a few ideas of a paper trail, we may know where to look further for this possible, of course, cover-up.
You do work at the paper. You might also be able to poke around and ask some questions, see if somebody knows about the hush-up of all the information about that fire.
I'll see what I can do. The downside is that if I'm seen asking questions about all sorts of different things, obviously whoever is doing the cover-up has quite a bit of pull, and especially at the paper. I don't know which ears should hear what I have to ask and which ones should remain blissfully ignorant.
That's true.
I'll do what I can. But
Just be careful.
because that's worked so well in the past. If I find anything, I will ring you. Otherwise, have you heard from any of the others?
No, I'm sure the doctor is trying to catch up from taking his extended absence, and I believe Miss O'Shea was going to be traveling to Boston to visit her mother.
Well, she is the one I believe should be more careful. She's at least out of the city limits. A blessing and a curse at this point. Well,
Mr. Doyle, why don't you give me a idea roll? Actually, wait, no. Give me a luck roll, sorry.
Where's my luck roll? Where's my luck at? Oh, yeah, barely, but I made it.
Stazi mentioned Kent and Son's music. And as you're continuing to talk and as you guys are continuing to work through it, the conversation, the name keeps kind of rattling around inside your head.
Was that record producer from Cleveland?
Yep. And what trips your memory about it is having seen the Kent and Sons business card, the one with Terrence Trainor's blood on it that was found on his body.
That is interesting.
it is. It all seems to tie together. So we know more than likely, at least in some respect, the Kents are involved. At least one of them. Far too many clues. Somehow. Perhaps a little bit of looking into the Kents might be in order as well. Well, it seems I have my work cut out for me. So much for my vacation.
Well, you know.
Ah, well. I have some time. My Mary will not be back until next week, so... Oh! That, actually, perhaps you can do an inquiry for me. I was visited this morning by Mr. Jack Thompson, by way of London, who deals in antiquities. It seems he's staying at the Chicago Hotel downtown and is trying to speak to my roommate regarding something about South America, I believe around Peru, possibly either antiquities, possibly dealing with gold.
Did you
Coins.
say South America?
I did.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yes, that's what I thought so too. Something else is going on.
Did you have an interesting dream last night?
I either try to remember them or I try to forget them. I don't really recall offhand, so I guess it wasn't interesting enough. But I did have a rather interesting phone call with Mary. As you know, she's out in California, dealing with that movie set, whatever's going on out there. I'm sure it'll just be another movie. Anyway, not flavor text. Moving on. She's coming back in a week, and she kept talking about Peru. A coin. Imagery on the coin, dating to ancient Peru. She kept insisting that I had been there. I've never been to Peru, and I know I've never spoken with her about going to it.
So she insists that you've been to Peru, but you don't remember that?
Yes. I have no recollection of being there, but it seems... She seems to think that I told her I had. It's just odd, and normally I might dismiss it. It's a mistake or misthinking, but considering our most recent ventures into the terrifying mind of God knows whatever that thing was. Sometimes I still question whether it was real, but every time I look, I find bits and pieces that seem to remind me that it was.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we can look. I'll look into it. What do you want me to look into this?
Look into him.
Okay.
I'd like to find out more about who this is. Wasn't able to get much out of him, but then again, I didn't want to push my luck.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'll look into him. You look into that, and we'll see what we come up with.
Sounds good. Maybe late dinner?
Yeah, we can do that.
Sounds excellent. All right, I will ring you if I find anything of interest.
All right. Good.
Miss O'Shea, you are on a train.
Yes. Well, no, I'm going to stop and see Christopher
Right.
first.
Sorry, scratch that. You're on Miskatonic University property again.
Is he still in his office?
He is. It appears that he's fallen asleep at his desk. He has not propped himself up in a chair. He's gotten a bit comfortable. And
can I find coffee nearby for him?
yeah, probably in the faculty area you can find coffee.
I'll pour him a cup before I wake him up.
You're a lifesaver. He takes the coffee from you.
Well, I got everything hopefully squared away with the doctor.
Oh, that's great.
I know you're busy now, and that's fine. Mother is excited that you'll be seeing her more. And apparently you have a bit of a reputation.
Yeah, the staff... one of the nurses there a few months ago, when I tried to explain to her what it is that we do at the college here, she called me a warlock. I mean, nothing could be further from the truth, but I just... And I think it's gotten into some of the other folks there, and now they see me as some wild-eyed professor that's probably in need of a good round of Hail Marys at the local church.
Well, I told him it runs in the family.
You be careful. You don't want to get that sort of a reputation around here. People in Arkham don't forget.
Ugh. Been dealing with more important things than what other people think.
So what did they say?
He said that you should be allowed to have access. Obviously, no medical,
Right.
And I asked if you could see her at night when she was, agitated. And he said that you could view her through one of their viewing areas.
Privacy screens, okay.
Yeah. If you ever want to, if you're curious about that.
Well, your mother says that she's bewitched by sounds and creatures and things that crawl along the side of the building. I have to tell you, it's quite fantastic. But the real question is it fantastic?
She drew one.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you have it?
Yeah. I'll pull out the paper.
Well, it's almost as if it's a weird image. What am I looking at here?
Well, this is the wall, and there's a crack, and it's whatever this creature is beyond the wall.
It's almost as if...
She says she's never seen this creature. It was described to her.
By whom?
I don't know. That I don't know. She thought I was somebody else.
Do you think that she thought you were your father?
Maybe. But I can't imagine that my father would have seen something like this. I mean, it's not even an animal.
What is it?
I can't tell.
It's got this weird bulbous body. At least, well, from what I can make out.
Yeah, and it's got this weird pattern, and yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's almost like rings, right? It's long rings or I don't know, flesh. It's very strange.
Indeed. But she used to love to draw. So if you supply her with charcoals, she will...
Make more of these.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, and also, if you can do me a favor, I'm going to give him some money. If you can get the staff to give her rye bread with her breakfast.
Oh. I don't need money for rye bread. The university does pay me.
Well, yes, but she is not your mother.
No, but she's your mother. And it's not unreasonable to do a kindness to someone else's mother. It's rye bread. That's not hard to come by.
No, she prefers that. And if that's the thing she'll eat, then so be it for now.
Much like the doctors have asked, I would like her to be eating.
Yes. She hates their eggs. That's all I know so far.
Well, I mean, institutionalized food is
Yeah.
less than ideal.
Right. Well, thank you.
Yes, so you're taking off then?
Yes, I have to
Off on the train?
Yeah, I have to get back home so I can work, so I can have more money.
Well, please call. Please let me know if I can do anything else.
I will. Thank you.
You're welcome. Please stay safe.
I try my best.
He finishes the coffee and then walks you out of his office and then out to the outer door.
Yep, I will catch a taxi and pick up my stuff from the inn and pay them and head home.
Off to the train station and on the rail.
Yep.
The train leaves Arkham, lets out a long whistle blow, and then moves on down the tracks back west, back towards home. All right, Mr. Doyle, after your phone call, what's your next stop?
I'm going to the library.
Really?
Yes.
Hang on a second. Have we been to the library yet?
I haven't been to the library.
You didn't? Did you go? You went to Alan's library.
Yeah, I
That's
didn't actually
different.
go to the actual
I'm
library.
going to the
So we're-
library.
We're now we're 10 plus sessions in, and we're finally having a Cthulhu investigator finally go to the library. I'm making sure on the tropes list here that I keep behind the screen that we're checking the boxes properly.
It's important.
I had private libraries I had access to.
Well, not everyone can be as special as you are. All right, you go
I
to
own a book, much
much less many go. Yes,
To necessitate a bookshelf?
right. In the manner of speaking. Okay, you go to the library.
Yes. I want to check their catalog of back newspapers.
Okay.
This might take a while. Because I'm looking for a particular article about a Mr. Larkin.
Okay. You begin to dig in and do some research. So, what we're going to have you do is make a library use roll.
It was not hard. Should I?
You're talking about spending luck?
Yeah.
I mean, that's entirely up to you.
No. I succeeded. But I did not get a heart.
Okay. Well, you begin searching. Larkin is a relatively common name. So I guess the question is what are you searching in conjunction with? What are you trying to ferret out? Who are you involving at the library?
Well, I guess I'm trying to think of how it would work back then. There's no microfiche. No computers, damn it.
No, definitely not.
I guess one of the libraries could help me, I guess. I'm going to have to go back at least X amount of years. It'll have to be probably before the war. So, well, at least my involvement in the war, so before 1917. It's going to deal with South America. Peru, I'm guessing.
Okay. So you spend a few hours at the Chicago Public Library. Big building.
Mm-hmm.
And you are combing through paper after paper after paper. You are probably, for the most part, concentrated on headlines above the fold. Those are the bigger stories of the day. And what you come across is a New York Times write-up that's been done, a very small blurb in one of the long strips of multiple ads. And the headline reads, "Search for Ancient Pyramid in Peru. Explorer plans expedition to discover site of lost civilization. And it's dated January 12th. It doesn't list a year from what you're seeing here, although based on the paper itself, it looks to be 1921. And the article itself reads, Explorer Augustus Larkin is planning an expedition to the southern highlands of Peru, where he hopes to identify the site of a pyramid long forgotten by history. Following the discovery of a number of gold artifacts in the region, Larkin believes that he has found evidence that will lead him to their source. He is currently in Lima, planning the expedition, and is recruiting companions and possible backers.
So, let me think back. This is not that long ago.
A couple of years.
Yeah, just over a couple of years ago. What was I doing January of 1921?
Well, first you're making a sand roll.
Oh, okay. No.
Nice.
Shut up.
You rub your fingers over the article itself, kind of the paper, and you begin to feel a very sick, familiar feeling. Almost as if you stood with this piece of paper in your hand. Almost as if you've looked this over with the same sort of enticing wonderment that you're reading with it now. You searched and searched and searched for this piece of paper, and now you have it in your hands. And now there is something altogether too familiar about this expedition. You can't remember what you were doing in 1921 in January. There's a cloud in your memory. You're befuddled. Lose a point of sanity.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. That I can cut out. When you come to, it's 3 o'clock. You kind of start for a minute. You flinch. And you flinch because the bell, the actual brass regulator on the clock nearby, prepares to ring 3 o'clock. And you realize you've been standing in this position reviewing multiple papers for several hours now. And you don't remember the time passing. But you have the newspaper article now.
I would like to just take this, but I can't.
Well, I mean, that's purely subjective.
Well, I mean, that's true. Not that I can't.
You didn't have to pick a lock for it, but
I shouldn't take it. But I know the paper now.
you shouldn't, your brain says. But it is here.
Right.
And it also has some level of importance. That's the rest of your brain talking.
I mean, maybe I could just take this page.
It wouldn't miss just a page,
No,
right?
And who's going to come looking for this particular page from this particular paper?
You're not certain, but one thing is true. They won't find it because it's already in your pocket.
Huh. How did that happen?
You're not certain, but the fresh air outside the Chicago Library is nice today.
Yep.
Miss Stazi,
Yes.
what do you have in store for the rest of the afternoon? Perhaps a public records jaunt?
First, I will, as I have probably finished up yet another brilliant column, must head over to the paper to drop it off.
All right.
And after I do that, we'll swing by, one of my fellow reporters and just inquire about this Louis Altieri.
Louis Altieri, sure.
See if I can find out any of the information that Mr. Doyle is looking for.
Okay. You stop by the desk of Adolphus Kane. He is a reporter, a journalist more than a reporter now, but a man who's plugged into the movers and shakers of what Chicago is beginning to become known for, which is a rather rough and tumble underworld.
Adolphus, darling. How
Yeah?
looking absolutely bee's knees today.
He brushes his very wide mustache. What do you want, my dear?
Oh, why would I possibly want something except to see and be around your shining presence?
Well, flattery will get you...
Almost everywhere, I hope.
Indeed.
We must get together again soon. It's been far too long.
He takes a seat behind his desk and kind of adjusts a few things to make space for your presence. So, what brings you back here?
Oh, I had to drop off this week's column. You know how dull and boring it can get. I'd so much rather be out there experiencing the world than writing about it in the dusty old typewriter.
You know, to that end, I heard that the paper may expand in the future. They're talking about potentially taking on someone to do international affairs.
Really?
Yes. The ability to travel and to report.
You do hold my attention.
Well, once I know more, I'll keep you in the loop. My old bones, unfortunately, won't be leaving Chicago anytime soon. We're a bit too busy.
Well, just make sure to drop my name to the right ears so that, I might be in consideration.
I will.
Thank you, darling. Now, I'm looking for some information. Because, a friend of a friend came to see me. I heard this name, and I was just a little curious.
All right.
Louis Altieri? Now,
You see-
if anybody knows about this gentleman, I do believe it would be you, oh wise one.
You see your, former, somewhat desk mate, although he's probably 4 or 5 desks down from you. He definitely looks concerned. Oh, I mean, Louis Altieri is he's a made man. He's a guy that settles bootlegging disputes. He usually does it with a couple of pistols.
Tough guy.
Well, they say he's killed 20 people.
Well, you do know how the stories exaggerate. You and I should know that better than anyone.
Yeah, I mean, he was he's not from here. He's not from Chicago. He's from California. You can tell by the weirdo hats the guy wears all the time. He has a 10-gallon hat. You know, like the ones they talk about in Texas, the big ones. But there's no doubt that most of his talents lie in solving problems for either the bootleggers around town or the local theatrical janitors union.
Yes, but what about the man himself? The myth and the legend I can find from almost any hack on the street. I need to know the real dirt. Is he a family man? Does he live in the city? Who are his maybe closest acquaintances? Does the man have a wife or children, for goodness sake? I mean, any sense of normalcy here?
Well, he does keep a few what we would call honest positions around. He's the president of the union over there. He uses it to bop between theaters. He's a bit of a night owl. I don't know offhand if he's married or not, but I do know that he is seen with more than a few different women around town.
Racy.
Theatrical types mostly.
Revolving door of ladies. Well, I use the term loosely, of course. Does he frequent any specific clubs?
He's known to go to the Rex. He's known to go to, some of the downtown Chicago hotels that, other members of the outfit hang at. I want to be clear. You do know he's a dangerous man.
Oh, of course, darling. I mean, I don't personally plan on crossing his path like a black cat. But I was just... You get intrigued. You hear these rumors and stories that you have to wonder about the men behind the legend.
I think if I had to sum up Louis Altieri in a single word, it would be cunning. He's smarter than your average nail driver for the outfit. He's not some idiot with a couple of pistols in his hand trying to do work. He's a technician. I've seen some of the hit photos that are reportedly his work, and it isn't a bunch of holes blasted in people at random. He's surgical.
So, this is what he does best.
Yeah, that and clearing up any disputes with union contracts, yeah. They kind of work hand in hand these days.
Well, any idea where in the city he may live?
North side for sure. I think if his memory serves correctly, he's just north of the river. He's got a nice place. And he's well connected as far as his finances go, too.
Oh?
Well, all those gangsters are rich nowadays. Thanks to the prohibition.
One of the biggest mistakes. You just can't get good booze anymore without your connections. At least occasionally I have those. So, he doesn't seem to be of any real high rank, but well held in high esteem in his circles, would we say?
Well, he's the kind of guy that Al Capone and Johnny Torrio would call on to rub people out. And if the outfit needs a hit done and you're the first name on their lips to get it done, it's a pretty high enough position, don't you think?
No, you do have a point. Some of the best known assassins are celebrities in their own right. All right. Well, that may be enough. Oh, Adolphus. Again, darling, it's just been far too long. I have missed our chats, especially when they're juicy as some of these are. Well, I guess I should be going.
Well, you let me know if you need anything else. I'll be here, and then if I hear any more about the globe-trotting reporter deal, I'll let you know.
Oh, actually, there may be one more thing that you could possibly maybe steer me in the right direction. You see, I'm trying to find a deed for a rather upscale apartment that I heard was for sale. I just want to check out to make sure everything's legit and it's not, someone trying to make a quick buck off of, well, I heard a rumor that there could be, shall we say, some of those underhanded dealings who are trying to, say, sell certain high-end real estate. Anyway, an apartment's come up for sale. In fact, it was in the paper, page 13. I just want to check out and see if it's linked to any of these rumors that I've had. Where would I go to check on specifically, do you think, to find the deeds and the paperwork regarding that?
City records would probably have something.
Do we have a contact there that I could possibly speak with? It can be just so tedious to just wade through all of those papers and all that time. If I can cut it down just a wee bit.
I got a guy down there. Last name is Salmone. He can help you out. I call him a fish because the guy can fish anything out of the paper and anything out of the records room I need. His work won't come free, but it's worth your time.
Anything particular that he enjoys, or just, the chill of crispness?
Yeah, probably the latter.
All right. I'll see what I can come up with. Thank you, Adolphus, darling.
Anytime.
I have missed you. Let's get together again soon. Lunch? No. Drinks. Definitely late night drinks. I think our conversations that go well into the night get all the better as the years go by. And when Mary comes back, you must come and see us.
Absolutely. Speaking of that.
Yes.
You think maybe when Mary gets back, you and her are going to have one of your parties again?
We are going to have the blowout of the century, darling. It's been far too long, and I've missed her terribly. I just hope she's feeling okay when she gets home. I'm a little worried.
She all right?
Well, she just seems so almost unrealistically happy for her normal self. You know how she's kind of subdued. Well, when she called me, she was chattering on about gold coins and South American treasure and all sorts of strange nonsense. I'm wondering if the sun and the California heat have gotten to her mind.
It's that California air. Everybody that goes out there, they get a little nuts.
Especially anywhere around Hollywood. I don't know how these pictures are going to ever last the way people are going. I don't know. They are enjoyable, though, sometimes.
Give me a good radio.
Any day. A warm radio, a cold drink, and good friends. I'm with you on that.
All right.
Now, Adolphus.
Adieu. He kind of he opens the door to his office and lets you out, kind of guides you out, and then wishes you a good day.
I will, at that point, then probably head to the City Records.
Okay. You head to City Records. Miss O'Shea. The train pulls into Cleveland, probably about 5 o'clock. The conductors come through the car and let folks know that they are going to be changing engines out in Cleveland, so that way they can continue on. It should be nothing more than maybe a 30 minutes or so to get everything up and running again.
Okay.
They do let you know that there are a couple of diners and there's also food in the dining car if that is your wish, but you need to be back on the train when it's ready to go.
I'll probably just, maybe if I can get like a sandwich from the diner to go, so to speak, I'll even just wrap it in a napkin and bring it back to the car.
They don't really have to go per se, but
Right.
if you tell the porter there on the car and the folks who the wait staff, they'll put it on a plate for you and let you take it back to the cabin car.
All right.
That's more than reasonable enough. It does look like there's a fair amount of people eating in there, but it also looks like, actually, give me a spot hidden roll when you're in the dining car.
Oh, take. What is my... Oh, okay. Oh, yes. Under by 4.
Nice. Make sure the box is checked for a successful skill roll.
Yes.
You see in the dining car that since the train's had a chance to stop and then things have quieted just a bit. It looks like the dining car, several of the windows are open on the east side of the dining car, and it looks like some of the folks who are eating there are benefiting from what sounds like music that's being played. It's hard to tell where it's coming from, and it's not in immediate vicinity. It's definitely something that's nearby, but not immediate.
Like, it's on the train or it's out?
No, it's outside, for sure.
I guess I can, if I eat and then maybe I can step off the train. I'm not going to go too far because, I need to get back on the train.
Okay. You have something to eat. It's, a relatively reasonably decent sandwich. You have a little something to juice or milk or something like that with it. And then after half an hour or so, you feel the train shift a bit back and forth. And then you hear that long whistle blow again. And the train starts to pull out of the station a minute or so later.
Okay.
The trip back for the rest of the evening and to Chicago is relatively uneventful for you. It has given you time both on the train there and back to study the book that you've been working on. Mm-hmm. You feel like you have a lot better grasp of it now, having spent several days working on it, but you're fairly certain your work really in it has kind of only just begun.
Right. Like I still have, I have books at home and everything that I can look at too, to reference, to help me.
Okay. It closes in on evening for you, Mr. Doyle. You had spoken about getting dinner with Miss Stazi. I don't know to what end you're going to make that happen.
Well, she said late evening.
She did. I guess between your situation at the paper, what are you doing after that?
Okay, I'm going to go back to my office, but first I want to make one more stop. I'm going to stop at the Chicago Hotel.
Okay.
I want to talk to Mr. Thompson. Jack Thompson.
Okay. The staff behind the desk take your request, and they seem to ring his room. You can see them do it a couple of times. They don't seem to get an answer.
Okay.
The staff comes back to you and says, I haven't been able to reach Mr. Thompson. It's possible he's out.
All right. I'll bring out one of my business cards. I will write a quick note that I would like to speak to him about some of the artifacts he's looking for and hand it to them. Could you see Mr. Thompson gets that?
Absolutely, sir.
Great.
You head back to your office after that. Miss Stazi at Records.
Yes.
It's getting close to the end of the working day, but you've made it just in time to get to the general. Now, Chicago, I mean, the office of City Hall and the records is a pretty big place, but you've had an opportunity to be in and out of here before in your career, so you kind of know where you're going already, and you look for Adolphus's contact.
Salmone.
Yep. Salmone's not too difficult to find. Most of the folks who keep records are old and stuffy and, quite frankly, rather Caucasian. Salmone is not. He is a well-ish dressed Italian man. Very clean cut. Brill-creamed hair. And he takes his attention to detail and his fastidiousness very seriously. He is currently recataloging something when you are directed in his direction.
So I will kind of gently come up behind. You must be Salmone.
He turns around.
Adolphus sent me.
Oh, of course. Of course. What can I help you with?
Well, he told me you were the man to speak with, who could find just about anything.
He looks around a little bit. Yes. He kind of moves a bit forward and takes your elbow and moves behind this massive card catalog structure. Any request from Adolphus is usually done a bit quieter. So, what is it that you are looking for?
My apologies. I can almost guarantee that what I'm asking for possibly, well, should not be too difficult. I happen to be looking for ownership papers for a particular apartment on Michigan Avenue.
Do you have the address?
I do, and I hand him a piece of paper with the address on it.
Okay. He looks at it. He seems to study it for a moment. It's one of the high rises. Yes.
If there are any, shall we say, related documentation regarding the owner or the property itself, building plans, etc., those could be of interest as well.
I'll take a look. Do you take a seat right there? He points to a chair.
For you, anything, darling. Thank you, sir.
He moves away and then back behind a counter. And then you see him go into a room that seems to have a lot of just large files, file folders and holders. You see a big wall with all sorts of dated or some type of organization and dated records. And he starts fishing in and out in different places. It takes him probably a good 15 minutes. But he walks out of the room, and when he does, he walks kind of parallel to your position. And then he seems to stop at another place, fish about a few other things, and then he seems to take whatever it is that he had in his hand and he places it in this other place, and then takes something out of there, and then finally walks back over. And he places a file folder in front of you, and it's wrapped up with twine, like some sort of string. And he puts his hand on it, and he says, "Your friend Adolphus, he usually understands that we have an agreement between these records, of course, are."
Of course, and of course, all good work should be rewarded. And I take out quite a few other larger bills. And
Okay.
I'm sure that whatever is needed.
He kind of slyly covers your hand and then scoops up the paper bills.
Mm-hmm.
This is everything we have that you'll need.
My thanks. And may I say, you are everything and more that Adolphus claimed for you to be.
Well, I do appreciate that. Madam, you have a wonderful evening.
And you, good sir.
You take the file folder and head out.
Well, let's see. I think it's almost time for some dinner. Oh, must be a phone box around here.
There is. The nice part about this era is there's phones fairly readily already.
I will ring up Mr. Doyle's
Okay.
number.
You have him. If he's at his office, which I think that's where you were headed.
Yes. Doyle.
Mr. Doyle, Stazi here. I do believe I have a little bit of information for you, plus some additional curiosities of that subject we spoke on earlier.
Yeah, I have something I want to show you too.
I've been waiting for you to say that for so long.
Oh my God.
Shall we meet for dinner?
Yes.
Say, I know this little cafe that's open late has the most wonderful martinis. Shall we say in 20 minutes?
Absolutely.
I'll
See you
see you then.
The two of you meet in the cafe about 20 or so minutes later. It's, we'll say it's getting on to about 8 o'clock at this point.
Good to see you again, Mr. Doyle.
You too.
As always, I always wish it was under, shall we say, much more pleasant circumstances. But,
You know, investigation is our lives. So.
well, it always seems to find its way into mine. So, who wants to go first? I will. Your first inquiry regarding the gentleman that frequents the Rex, I believe. I was not able to find a whole lot in the short amount of time we've been apart. But it seems that his position is rather in demand with his associates. He seems to be at the top of the heap, shall we say. He seems to be their number one, let's say, first number on the call list when certain persuasions are required. He's not stupid, and he is absolutely no pushover. You have stumbled onto someone who is, well, shall we say, can make your world turn on its head and then fall to pieces.
Yes.
Be careful with this one, Mr. Doyle. I don't know what the rest of the details are, but this one is dangerous. Oh, and he does happen to keep a rather nice place. Let's just say what he does pays quite well. It's on the north side, north of the river. Shouldn't be too hard to spot. And while I was not able to find any family information, he either has one he's not being very public about, or he doesn't have one, but he does enjoy the ladies, particularly at the Rex. Does that help?
Yes.
If I find out more, I'll let you know, but this seems to be one area that we really do not want to publicize, shall we say.
It does at least confirm some of the stuff you already know. And then she does have and gives you a street address for what they believe is his
Well,
house.
thank you. I'll see what I can do with this.
And as deadly as he is, I'm sure he is probably not alone there.
No, maybe.
So, quid pro quo, your turn.
Yes. Well, I have not had a chance to speak to Mr. Thompson or find out much about him yet. I'll have to do so tomorrow. But I did find something that I want you to take a look at. And I slide the newspaper. Does that look familiar to you?
Does it?
Oh, yeah. You put your eyes and down on this piece of paper and read through that man named Larkin is looking for a group of people to help him investigate and have an expedition to a mysterious place in Peru. And when you read the words Peru, you get there's a bit of a shake in your hand. It's almost as if there's a unspoken terror behind those letters in the order Peru. You can see, Doyle, that she stops. She freezes while she's reading it. Stazi, you see in your vision deep South American foliage, a long trail that stretches out through high altitude. And you almost feel as if you're on the back of a pack animal, some sort of horse or maybe a donkey, and you're headed towards this strange place. The faces around you are faces you've seen before, but again, they're much younger than the people that you'd met. And there's that man again. There's Doyle. He's here. You can see her, Doyle, you can see her almost like trying to catch her breath while she's holding this paper. You snap out of it. Heart palpitating a bit.
It's almost like you're there, isn't it?
I just look at him like...
I have a question for you. What were you doing in January of 1921?
Do I not remember?
You make me a sand roll is what you do.
That's what I figured.
I like how in this game we try to force each other to make sand rolls.
You know what's funny is I like that too.
Oh yeah, like me. Like, hey, take a look at this.
Yeah.
Hey, have you seen this paper yet?
Yeah, because if you haven't,
I can
Make
help you with
sand
that. Yes, I made that.
No.
I wonder.
Okay, so
lame.
you make the sanity roll. You have a totally different recollection. It's almost as if it was almost as if you had something in your mind that was being covered by a piece of cloth, like a blanket. And someone just pulled the blanket right off. And what you see is, for a flash, just an image just for a moment, is a nurse pulling away the cover of a hospital bed that you're laying in. And then you're back in the present.
Hospital. I think I was in a hospital.
But you don't remember?
Just a flash. a moment. I can't grasp it. It's like a wisp. Just one of those party sparklers. It's there and it's gone. What happened?
I don't know, but I can't remember either.
A jungle. I saw a jungle. I saw you and the others, but we were young.
Younger.
Yeah. Younger, yes. On some kind of pack animal being taken somewhere we didn't know, something towards something.
I think it has something to do with that expedition. Something happened.
Peru. Mary said something that I told her had gone to Peru.
Right. That's what made me think about it. When you said something like that, it reminded me of the dream I had last night.
Until now, I have no memory. Did this happen? Is this a dream?
I don't know, but I can't rule it out.
Well, seems we have stumbled onto another mystery. And this one is seems a bit more insidious in my mind.
Well, let's just hope it doesn't involve a giant three-eyed snake.
Or something worse.
He's sleeping.
Miss O'Shea, the train does pull into Chicago around 9:30 or so that evening. The smoky, almost steam-filled train center station guides you back out to a taxi. It's probably easier than getting a hold of Jimmy.
Yeah.
And
at this hour? Yeah.
You kind of quietly and calmly head back to your house.
I haven't yet looked to see how bad I smacked my face. I'm not going to yet.
Nope. And unless there's anything else.
I do show, when I get a moment, I put the file folder wrapped in twine.
Yes, indeed.
Onto the table.
Indeed.
And say, we may have some more answers. Or more questions.
Do you want me to take that and look at it?
I think we should look at it together.
Yeah, I mean, if you peruse the file itself, there are a select number of pieces of paper. It looks like the original Michigan Avenue apartment was bought about 3 years ago. The original resident goes back a good 30 or so years to when the property was built. And this Kent and Sons Music is the name on that deed who purchased the property.
Interesting.
It was paid for in cash to someone named Nathaniel Kent. And it seems that he is care of Cleveland, Ohio. It also shows in further documentation that Mr. Kent applied for several permits to modify the interior of the structure to do build-outs. And it appears that he did not just build out the single structure, but that he ended up purchasing the apartment directly above it as well. Not that you saw any sort of stairs or any sort of method of getting there, but it does appear that they own the apartment upstairs. Whether they're conjoined or not is unknown. But it was bought with the intention of doing that. No
lock picking tonight.
No, sadly. No, the streak is over. There's been no lock picking for a session or two, which means I guess you're going to have to hang up your thieving ways, at least for a little while.
No, I stole something today.
Well, that's true. You did steal the article.
Yeah.
You did steal some. You just didn't pick any locks.
Right.
So, okay, that's about the rough idea of what you find in the folder itself.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have a little bit more about the apartment,
And we have the link to the Kents.
and you do have the link to the Kents, which means something is going on with the Kents in Cleveland.
Yeah, man, my
All right, folks. Well, thank you for listening. Have a wonderful evening, and we will catch you a week or so after Thanksgiving. So if you're listening to this episode, there will be a short interlude during Thanksgiving week, and then the week after we'll pick it back up. Okay?
And we wish you a wonderful, safe, delicious, and make sure you wear the big pants Thanksgiving.
Absolutely. Good night, everybody.